Hello, May class, and welcome to your next English lesson. Okay, so in the previous lesson, we were looking at the innovative writing that we did in the last week, and you were looking at how to edit that and how to edit it correctly, what to look for. So looking for capital letters that you've maybe missed or put in the wrong place. Have you punctuated your sentences correctly? Have you used exciting vocabulary? Your fronted adverbials? We were looking at all of that. So today we are going to start the last bit of the instructions, and today you are going to be boxing up some ideas and planning your thinking of how you would escape, or no, sorry, how you would take over the school. So I want you to think about how the Romans invaded and took all the land to build the Roman Empire. And then I want you to think, what would you do to take over, invade the school and take over so you ran it and you were in charge? So let me share my screen with you. So you're boxing up your final set of instructions today. And these are going to be your hot task when you write it. So these need to be organized and structured correctly. Again, you will be using the box up that we have of our introductory paragraph, what I will need, steps, using your bossy verbs or your imperative verbs. Just write that so we have that. Anything extra that you may want to put. So this is our imperative verbs. Your imperative verbs, right? So you are going to be thinking about how you would take over the school. So the first thing I want you to think about is the following. Think back to our original text map about building an empire. Think about what they needed. So the things that they needed to build the empire, they needed these. What steps did they need to do? They needed to train their army. They needed to lead the army across to new lands. They needed to invade the lands and steal all the things from there. And then they defeated anyone that stood in their way. And then they ruled over the kingdom proudly. Those were the steps that they had to do. And then remember, we also looked at things to remember about unexpected death, to be careful about that and avoid being assassinated and avoid avoid people taking over from you and making sure your empire ran smoothly. So I want you to pause the video now, and I want you to give it a think about how the Romans built their empire, what you've learned about how the Romans built their empire, and what do you think you would need to take control of the school. Imagine you're sitting in our classroom. So I'm sitting in our classroom today. Imagine you were sitting here and think about where your classroom is, where the important places in the building are that maybe you need to take over or invade. Do you need to invade the office? Do you maybe need to take over Miss Shaw's office or Mrs. Bowen's office, or take control of all the radios? Would you use those in your plans? Give it a think. So pause the video now and think about what you would need to do and what you would need to help you to take over the school. So, as mentioned before, what part of the school would you need to conquer? Which part of the school do you think is the most important part of the school, the heart of the school, where the leaders of the school are, and that you would need to take control of that? What would you need to do that? What tools would you need? Would you do it alone? Would you need help from someone? Okay. What would you do about Mrs. Bowen or Miss Shaw or Mrs. Javid? What would you do about them? where would they go? How would you distract them? How would you take control of the office? What would you do about your teachers? If you're going to escape their classroom and you are going to have to take control of the school, what would you do with all your teachers? How would you distract them or make sure that they couldn't alert anyone to what you were going to be doing? What would you need to take over the school? Would you need proper shoes so you could do some running? Would you need to use the walkie-talkies in school? You know, the ones we have in our classrooms. Would you need your friends to help you? Would you need to carefully plan with your friends how you would take over bit by bit, and keeping all the teachers silent and all the children to help you, but making sure that the teachers weren't using the walkie-talkies to talk to each other and warn each other? Would you use them to warn your friends? Do you need keys? Would you need to steal them from the office? Would you need rope? Maybe tape? Maybe a backpack full of things that you would need? Do you need to take snacks with you? So pause the video now and think about the things you would need and the things you would use to take over the school. What would happen with all the adults? Where would you put them? Would you lock them away in the DT room? Would you tape them to their chairs? You would need tape for that. Would you lock them out of the school? So get them all to run out for whatever reason, and then they would come back in. They couldn't come back in because you've taken over. Would you take over the kitchen where all the food is? Or would you have snacks hidden so that you could do what you wanted? These are all things that you need to think about today. So, things to remember when you are writing your instructions. It's written in the present tense. So first do this, then do this. After that, do this. Finally, take over the school. You use your imperative verbs and your adverbs to begin each step. So we've spoken about your fronted adverbials that you would use, how you would punctuate your fronted adverbials. We've talked about technical vocabulary or topic words that would match what you were talking about. So I said to you when we were looking at escaping our homes about using camouflage so that you couldn't be seen. You could look at the use of words like running free, destined, escape. Those were the ones when we were escaping our house. Think about the topic words we used in building an empire. Invade, plunder. Those were all topic words or key technical vocabulary that goes with the theme that we are talking about. We spoke about using time conjunctions, so we knew what order things needed to go into. We spoke about giving clear instructions, because if the instructions aren't clear, it made it very difficult to complete the tasks because we wouldn't be sure about certain things. We also spoke about writing, and some of us have seen a bit of your work on Tapestry, and I have made it one or two times. I've had to comment and remind us that we're writing in the second person. So we aren't going to be using me or I or we. You'll be using words like you and your. So put your backpack on. So that's you are. Put your backpack on. First, you need to steal the radios. Then you need to put your dark clothing on. So it's you or your, because we're talking in the second person. We're not saying I or we or me. Okay? Something to remember. Just erase this. So your tasks today are as follows. Tomorrow, we will be writing up our final set of instructions. Today, you are going to be boxing up your ideas for your instructions. You are welcome to use the box up that we used the previous week with the same headings. It looks very much like this one. You're welcome to use this, or you can, like I said, if you aren't able to print it out, I did say to you that you could write the headings of each section of your planning. So we could say introductory heading. Oh. And then you could write what you needed under there, so your rhetorical questions. Your short, snappy sentences. Don't know why it's doing that. Your short, snappy sentences, your technical vocabulary. Okay, so you could do that and then write what you needed underneath it, and then leave a line, do the next paragraph, leave a line, do the next paragraph, making sure to use your subheadings about what you are planning. Remember that it is a plan. It shouldn't have full sentences in it. It should only have your ideas of what you're going to write and just some key ideas or key sentences that you maybe want to include in your writing. You are then going to read through your ideas and make sure you've included technical vocabulary or topic vocab words, or like we said, topic words or technical vocabulary to do with invading. Think about some of the vocabulary words we used right in the beginning. Think about some of the vocabulary words we used when you were escaping your house. And then finally, your third task will be to draw an illustration that you can include in your final hot task. So right in the beginning, we did mention that often instructions include a diagram or illustration of some form. So this one could be maybe a map of how you would take over the school, the route you would take, and then underneath it would be a small caption explaining what you've drawn. Okay, it doesn't need to be huge, it can be small. It has to have obviously some kind of a heading and a caption that goes with it. Okay, so box up your ideas, read through and make sure you've included technical vocabulary and everything that we said you needed to include in your box up, and draw an illustration that you can include in your final hot task. Don't forget to put all of this onto Tapestry for us. We would love to see your work and your planning, and I look forward to seeing your invasion plans.